A blessed day, everyone. Mabuhay! We are the Group 1 from BS Mechanical Engineering 1H, loud and proudly introducing to you to our prelims group presentation. I am Hans de Gracia, together with my groupmates, Ms. Francine Garcia, Mr. Eman Garganera, Mr. Lowell Gonzaga, Mr. Kenji Atakayama, and lastly, Ms. Lalaine Lacambra, are here to present the Inquiry on Philosophical Ethics.
What is philosophy? Let us explain philosophy in the simplest way possible. First, let us look at this picture. What can we see in this picture? In this picture, we can see some variety of colors which includes red, blue, green, yellow, or even some orange here and there. But the picture doesn't really make sense, right? We can't make sense about the picture, not until we take a step back and look at the bigger picture. That is what philosophy is. Taking a step back and looking at the bigger picture and asking the most important questions about our life. For example, what am I doing with my life? How should I live my life? What is right? Is this right? What is wrong? And even who am I? That is what philosophy is.
Thank you for the very informative discussion, Mr. Garganera. Now, let us discuss about the branches of philosophy. Philosophy can be divided into several branches. These are ontology, the branch of philosophy that studies concepts such as existence, being, becoming, and reality. Epistemology, the study of nature, origin, and limits of human knowledge. Cosmology, the study of the origin and evolution of the universe. Theology, the study of the nature of God and the religious belief. Psychology, the study of the mind and behavior. Metaphysics, the study of principles of being, identity and change, space and time. Aesthetics, the branch of philosophy that deals with the principles of beauty and art. Semantics, the study of language and linguistics. Axiology, the philosophical study of value. Logic, the study of the nature of thinking and reasoning. And lastly, ethics, the study of morality of human acts. Due to time constraints, we will only give focus to ethics, which will be defined and presented by Mr. De Gracia. Thank you.
Ever since you were a child, you were always asked to do what is right. Now that you have reached your point in life where you have the ability to think for yourself, do you follow what is morally right? Let me ask you this question. Would you rather go to the hospital to visit your grandmother who is sick and alone? Or take your major exam because your professor does not accept late submissions? What will you do? That is the point where ethics comes in. A moral philosophy that is a well-founded standard of what is right or wrong that dictates the people what to do in line with obligations, fairness, society, and virtues. Hereby, ethics is also a standard. Standards in right to life, right to freedom, and right to privacy. But then, why is this important? As a person, we have our conscience that guides us. So, why study ethics? Because ethical decisions are everywhere. It is vital to keep an eye on one's standards to make sure they are reasonable and well-founded. Ethics also helps a person to look at his own life critically. Are my decisions right? Is this the path that I really want to take? Is this good? Will this benefit the majority? These questions can help a person assess his actions, decisions, and choices. Because in every decision you make, you are the one to succeed or fail, you are the one to face the consequences, you are responsible for the actions that you make. With that, ethics is just as important as our specialized subject.
Now that we have defined both ethics and philosophy, we can now talk about how they are related to each other. As stated earlier, ethics is one of the many divisions of philosophy. More particularly, it is the practical science that studies human actions, not just any actions, but willed actions, that can question a person's definition of what is right and what is wrong. Actions that question a person's belief and principle. Philosophy is wisdom, while ethics is wisdom on morality.
So next, ethics is connected with every aspect of our life. That being said, the discipline of ethics is also related to other sciences, such as logic, psychology, sociology, economics, education, religion, and art. So now, let us see on how they are related to each other. So, first of all, ethics with logic teaches us on how to live correctly. Next is ethics with psychology gives us the idea of morality of human behavior. Next is ethics with sociology taught us principles that conforms with the standards of our society. Next is ethics with economics will guide us not just to gain money, but to gain money with honesty, dignity, and integrity. Next is ethics with education helps us develop ourselves for the better. Next is ethics with religion, strengthen our beliefs and deepen our relationship with God. And lastly, ethics with art taught us morality that conforms with the standards of our society. So, ethical decisions, questions, and actions are everywhere. So, for example, a student might ask himself, am I studying well enough to give justice to my parents' sacrifices? Another examples, politicians. Politicians may ask themselves, is this the right thing for the people? For educators, am I able to develop my students' moral character? Am I of significance to them? And lastly, for us future engineers, am I committed to building structures honestly? By simply asking these questions, we are connecting ourselves to the ethics and the sciences that are connected to it.
In line with your discussion, if something that you believe is wrong was done by someone who thinks it is right, who among you is morally right? In our life, we have boundaries that others can cross. Always remember that. Cultural practices that we preserve, beliefs that are passed down from generation to generation. It is important to know that different societies have different moral beliefs, and that our beliefs are influenced by our culture. That being said, some values have moral involvement while others don't. For example, handshakes. You can use your left hand for handshakes in Arab countries. It is considered to be rude and disrespectful for them. Because in their culture, the left hand is known to be the dirty hand or the bad hand. But here in the Philippines, you can use whatever hand you want when shaking hands. Also, unlike in Arab countries, contact between men and women is not strictly prohibited here.
In all of that, different cultures have different moral standards, and people might impose their culture over the other. This is why it is important to understand the difference of moral standards from non-moral and immoral standards. Moral. It is an individual set of standards based on what we characterize as universally right or wrong. It normally promotes the good for the welfare of human and our environment. Being a moral person means conforming to a standard of what is good and right. An example of this is not harming innocent people or anyone in particular way. Non-moral. It refers to standard by which we judge what is good or bad in non-moral way. It's about the matter of viewpoint of how we perceive things. A great example of this is etiquette. Have you ever experienced being scolded by your mother because you were speaking when your mouth is full? Because she said that it was bad. Speaking with your mouth is not necessarily bad, but it is perceived in our culture as disrespectful. That is why our mom scolded us. Immoral connotes the intent of evilness or wrongdoing, and it is true antonym of moral. This are actions that are universally bad or wrong. These actions are perceived as repulsive, and it's often but not always linked with religion. An example of this is murder, adultery, stealing, and lying, which all goes against the teaching of the Bible.
When we talk about ordinary rules or laws, this refers to the system of rules and regulations established or enforced by the government to regulate human behavior in the society in which he or she lives. On the other hand, moral rules or standards or rules or principles that involves actions or differences between right and wrong or good and bad behavior. When it comes to their differences, moral standards refers to the rules or beliefs people have about the kinds of action they believe are morally right or wrong, as well as the values they inherit. Ordinary laws, on the other hand, are the norms that a country or community imposes on its citizens in order to maintain social peace and order. Morals are known as etiquettes, while law, ordinary rules, also known as policies. Examples of moral standards or principles based on the truth of human nature. Speak truth, respect the properties of others, do not judge, treat others the same way you want to be treated. Examples of ordinary rules or laws in the society that we live in. Road rules, laws about marriage, laws against theft or crime.
Defined as adhering to a moral code or principles of right and wrong, and living according to it. So this establishes codes of conduct and practices in situations where they are appropriate, suitable, and accepted by anyone. So ethics, on the other hand, are norms that groups of people have agreed upon. For instance, the codes of conduct in the workplace. So it's crucial to understand the differences and relationships between morality and ethics due to the fact that these two are incompatible and may cause conflict with each other. So, in ethics, which is descended from the Greek word ethikos, indicating character or personality, is a person's purpose to think and reflect on what kind of life they want to live, as opposed to thoughtless habits, social conventions, or self-interest. An individual's decisions are shaped by their beliefs, ideals, and purpose. In other words, what gives us a feeling of what is good, what is right, or even valuable in our life is our way of thinking about the values, principles, and beliefs which is embedded in our existence. And morality, on the other hand, contains set and unsaid rules of society that every person is expected to follow while deciding. So these beliefs are not objectively right, but should be right in every situation. So when it comes to their similarities, ethics and morality, ethics represents the determination of what is right and what is wrong, while morality aids in the refinement of that judgment and ethics. And secondly, morality and ethics are both desirable concepts or ideals that can assist anyone on becoming a better person.
Summarizing it up, basically philosophy critiques on how should we decide for a certain scenario we are in. It integrates our morality in life on how we think for ourselves, what are the actions we do, and how are we living our life up until now. Ethics is the one where we can call it as our way on how should we depend our life into. As what discussed earlier, philosophy is wisdom while ethics is wisdom on morality. There are different kinds of morality, whereas moral standards are the standards set by the universe on what is right or wrong. Non-moral standard, on the other hand, is the standard set by how we perceive things as right or wrong. Immoral, on the other side, is the one who can we call the evilness of one's person. But why is there a difference on moral rules and ordinary rules, when basically it only talks about the rightness of an action? The only answer to that is that ordinary rules are commonly defined as policies, and policies are set by the government for the society, while moral rules are commonly called as etiquette, and etiquette are the behavior on how should a person act which perceived as right action.